Greetings, fellow humans. Bad Mark here with another transmission from Metre Keyboards, and today we're looking at a keyboard, but we're also going to share a story. I remember when NuPhy first shifted into mechanical keyboards, they actually started with a version of the Tester 68, the Test 68. They just had some different colors that weren't available at that time from other vendors. From there, they kind of took the, I want to say the keycron path and went for Mac users with kind of Mac-centric features. Now, I did review the first version of the Air, the V1. It wasn't even called that. It was just the Air75. And it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good, though I personally am not the biggest fan of low-profile keyboards. Fast forward a little bit, I started growing my channel and I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I'd like to review your keyboards, because the first Air I had purchased myself and the Halos were out. Now, they did send me one of each of the Halos, the 65, the 75, and the 96, and I did pretty thorough reviews on them. And despite them being top-mounted, that felt more like a tray-mounted, and having closed-source software, they were pretty decent keyboards. I've actually just pulled out the 75 and the 65 the other day. They still work, which is nice. But it was closed-source software. I had what I thought was a close working relationship with one of the marketing people that goes by a name that I think is more of a moniker that different people use, and it's not actually one individual. But I had brought up the fact that, hey, what do you guys think about doing QMK via keyboards? Because then you open it up, you're trying to attract Mac users. It will also attract Linux users, and you're not going to be leaving Windows users behind. And we actually had a fairly lengthy back and forth discussion where engineers, or what she told me or they told me, were engineers at NuPhy. And on the conversation, being that I'm a software engineer and I've worked on some hardware projects, I was able to guide them and show them, basically kind of give them a crash course in QMK, why it was, how it worked, microcontrollers, so on and so forth. And they seemed very serious. And sure enough, shortly after that, they came out with keyboards that were QMK via. Now, that's where situations start. They sent me the Gem 80 to review, and I had some issues with it. There were some issues primarily with the firmware. That keyboard is now dead. And that's not the only NuPhy that has just died on me. There were serious issues with the firmware, which in my original video I didn't really catch because I was kind of just more focusing on the different plates and doing sound tests and everything. But then I went to them and I was like, listen, I've got a long list of issues that I found with deep out settings, with the way the QMK is set up. And I didn't approach them in any sort of negative way. I was wanting to work with them so they could fix it not only for me, but for everybody, and therefore make a better product. Well, anyway, that person, or that moniker that they use for marketing, like I said, I believe there's numerous people behind it. They got very upset with me. They took umbrage with what I had to say, and for some reason became extremely defensive. And I was quite just taken aback by the way they were responding to me, and they're like, don't ever contact us again. And I was like, what? And I wrote another email, and my email was blocked. I was like, wow, that's just, I was honestly shocked. Fast forward a little bit, and they released the new Halo series, the V2s, and I tried reaching out to them to see if I could at least get a discount, because I wanted to review it, because a number of people had asked me to review it. So I said, screw it, I'll purchase it myself. And I did. I purchased the V2 Halo 75. And it had issues from the get-go. This keyboard would turn off on its own while plugged in. It just go off. There was debounce issues. But eventually this keyboard just died. Just stopped working. Nothing. It doesn't work plugged in. It doesn't work with battery. I admit I haven't gone in there and opened it to actually test with a voltmeter, but at $140, what I paid for that keyboard, it was quite disappointing. Fast forward even further, and I reached out to them via the social media platform, and I was letting them know that, my Halo 75v2 had just died. It was dead. I went through all the processes and the troubleshooting steps that I had done. I mean, I've been on the other end of tech support many times before, so I provide all the information. I tested on Windows, tested on Linux, blah, blah, blah. Nothing, and they were like, "We're so sorry. Here, email this email address," which was the email address that was blocked. I'm like, "Well, I've tried to, because I used to review your products, and who are you?" And they acted like they didn't know who I was, even though, again, the moniker was the same one of the person that I had been dealing with for a while. Long story short, they came to me one day, just randomly, through that social media platform, and they're like, "Would you like to review the Air 75? I don't know if they remember who I am or not, but I was like, "Yeah, sure." I honestly kind of thought it was a joke. They said, "We're going to go ahead and send it out to you." They asked me for my address. About a week later, I received a DHL notice that I had to pay. No point did they make any mention of that, but I had to pay almost $40, I believe, in tariffs for DHL to send it over to me. So, like, as soon as I received it, they're like, "Is the video ready?" I'm like, "I just received it." Because I mean, the Halo V1s, they're solid keyboards. If they'd only had QMK VIA to begin with, and good QMK, because their source for their firmwares, at least all the ones that I've come across, for one, either have no debalance settings or have them completely off. Like, they never tested it and just picked a random number. They were using dice to set up the demount settings, because from one keyboard to the next, despite using the same MCUs, from what I could gather, they were changing the debounce settings, and the firmware itself had a lot of issues. Now, there's still, to this day, there's a number of community-made firmwares because their firmware is so bad. You would think that, they'd accept that, hey, we're not doing very good with firmwares, and perhaps hire. There's one, I can't remember his name, but he has, I believe, made firmwares for almost all of the VIA ones, and he's fixed a lot of the issues, but unfortunately, the ones that I had that are QMK VIA don't work. Gem 80 as well as a Halo 75. And it's very, it's rare that I come across a keyboard that dies. I've had keyboards die, yes, but it's rare. I have several hundred keyboards, and I literally have, I want to say, less than half a dozen keyboards that, now, I'm going to say less than a dozen keyboards that have completely just died on me for no rhyme or reason. One of them, though, was because of a swollen battery, and it did bend and affect some of the traces on the PCB. It kind of halfway works. Anyway, with NuPhy, I have two. I have the Gem, and I have the Halo 75v2. Both of them that just died. Like I said, this one, it was given signs. It started to just go out on its own. The Gem one day just stopped. It just, in the middle of using it, it just stopped, and I was like, "What's the cable, the port?" Rebooted my computer, tried on a different computer, nothing. Completely dead, no lights, no nothing, no detection of the device. And I am not the only one. There is a number of posts, both on our subreddit and on others, and even on their subreddit, which they don't really manage very well, because they don't even remove negative, which, I guess that's a positive. At least they're up there, but I don't think they really put that much attention towards the Reddit forum. They use it more as a channel of marketing, and that's it. They don't really use it as tech support, though. A lot of people, and numbers of people, have come to me or have posted publicly about how they received their keyboard, either it arrived dead, a DOA, or it died shortly thereafter, or it has a number of issues that, regardless of what firmware they flash, it just doesn't work and continues to show those issues. And 9 times out of 10, what I'm hearing is that NuPhy, if they respond, mind you, they will offer like a $5 or $10 coupon to buy that keyboard again. Even though they have a warranty on their site that says that they will replace it free of charge within a certain amount of time, they don't honor that warranty. Now, because they do not have a presence in the United States or in the EU, they can say whatever they want. They're not going to be held liable. But like I said, the day that I received it, literally the day that it arrived, is the video ready yet? No, I told you I take approximately 2 weeks. Well, will it be ready tomorrow? So communication with NuPhy has been very poor. Their track record has been very poor. The Halo V1 series, like I said, the ones I have still work and still work fine. They're interesting designs, but for me, I can't use them for any amount of time because it does feel like a tray mount, and it aggravates my RSI. I've gotten to the point that I really need a gasket mounted keyboard. That little bit of flex makes so much difference. Non-gasket mounted keyboard or a tray mounted, where the keyboard, the plate, they don't flex, they are fixed in place. So it's like a car crashing into a wall or a concrete barrier. There is nothing dampening that force. But when I'm on a gasket, I can type, and I can continue to type, and my fingers are not hitting something that's full force stop. It's a nice, almost like a cushioning motion, and that dampening basically makes it to where when I bottom out, I'm not bottoming out that heavy. Yes, I do type very heavy, so a gasket mount really helps for me to be able to type for long periods of time and not experience any RSI. That said, today we're taking a look at the Air75v3. I haven't even opened it up yet. I'm interested to see if they've fixed issues, see the firmware, see the way it's built, see how it feels, and give an honest opinion. And that's one thing that I guess a lot of people have mentioned, and I mean, it's probably one of the most common thread comments that I receive on this channel. It's like, hey, thank you for that review, and thank you for not being like those other creators. There's specific word that they use. I'm not gonna accuse any other YouTubers or whatever. I don't do this for the money. A lot of the other bigger keyboard YouTubers, they charge. They not only get the product for free, which I do in some cases. Sometimes it's discounted, sometimes I buy it on my own, sometimes I get it for free, but I don't accept any payment, because I've had several companies offer me several $100s for a video, and it's like, no. And honestly, I don't really like working with them, because it's kind of like they have expectations. They want you to create content for them, not a review. They basically want you to create a long form commercial. I don't do that. I don't do keyboard reviews on YouTube to make money. It is not a source of income. I mean, yeah, I make a little bit to cover some expenses. I don't count on anything that might come in from YouTube. I don't do this for the money. I do this because I enjoy it. It's a hobby that I've enjoyed since I really got into it. I am working on a Linux video, and again, that's not going to be for making money. It's more just going to be for helping people get to Linux. As such, I'm not afraid, and I mean, I really don't care, to be quite honest, to speak my mind. And if I find something that I feel is an issue, or I find a company that is mistreating its customers, I'm going to say it. Does that lose good faith with these companies? At some occasions, yeah. But there are some companies that I work with, and I have been working with, that they appreciate my honesty. They actually take my feedback, and they don't stop working with me. They don't say, oh, well, you said something bad about our keyboard, because I'm never saying anything out of spite. It's a keyboard. I don't got anything against a mechanical object. What I do not like is companies that treat their customers dirty. And that's just, I'm going to speak out against it. And because I don't make money, and I don't aim to make money, so I've got people left and right saying, hey, let me make thumbnails for you. Hey, let me write you scripts. Hey, let me do this, let me do that for you. You can make more money. You can make more views. I'm like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate views because it gets that information out there, but I'm not dying for views. I'm not dying for subscribers. I'm not doing this to make money. Whereas I would say the majority of them, they're content creators. I don't create content. I don't write scripts. I grab a keyboard, I sit down, and I talk. That's it. So there's no preconceived, things I'm going to say. There's no script. There's no, I'm going to make a really positive video, even though X, Y, and Z I don't like. No, I'm going to speak about X, Y, and Z. Instead of trying to dampen anything that I find negative, I'm going to highlight it. Why? Because I think it's important. Keyboard is an investment. Yes, there are people out there that could spend hundreds of dollars on a keyboard and not use it. But the majority of us appreciate buying something and being able to use it, you know, for at least 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's electronic, so we know everything, you know, has got that planned obsolescence, but if it's going to last me at least 2 or 3 years and it's reasonably priced, hey, cool. NuPhy, unfortunately, I think they started down the right path, but something went wrong along the way, and I don't know what's happened. Maybe this one's better. I have kept away from any reviews as to not taint myself about this, so I honestly, until I opened it up, because it came in a different, you know, a wrapped container, I didn't even realize it had a knob. I don't know if that's a replaceable knob or not, but it's definitely a low profile like the original Air75 that I have. So anyway, I apologize for that lengthy intro, but I felt it was just kind of necessary to put everything into context, and so that you guys know where I'm coming from. I'm going into this with an open mind. Perhaps this will be my new favorite low profile. Right now, the Marvo Color Reco. Marvo Color Reco A75. It literally, it's one of the best low profile keyboards I've used. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the NuPhy Air75v3 and see what we've got. I hope that you guys enjoy the review. First off, let's go ahead and start off with what's included in the box. As always, before taking a look at the keyboard, I do like to see what's included. And here we have a card. Oh, it's a quick start guide in a wax paper envelope. Okay. Things like this, it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like good packaging, but at the same time, how much are you spending on packaging rather than on the product itself? We have power usage instructions. This product is designed to be powered by a listed certified power supply with a rated voltage of 5 volt DC with a minimum of 500 milliamp. All right, so we got a quick FAQ and guide. Tells us about connections. Okay, so it does look like it is a hot swappable knob, and we do have a screwdriver tool. Oh, and it actually screws in. I've not seen a removable knob that allows you to screw it in. So while it's interesting to have a screw to hold down the knob, I have several keyboards that have replaceable knobs. The knobs usually have more pins than a switch, and I can honestly say I personally have never had a knob fall out, so just wondering if that's an extraneous necessity or an extraneous addition, or because of its low profile, perhaps it needs that extra support. But knobs should not, I mean, a hot swap basically should be a hot swap. I can take it out, I can put it in. Kind of defeats the definition, but that's neither here nor there. Let's see what we've got in here. We have a screwdriver. We have our knob module, and there's a little hole for the screw. I don't see a screw. Perhaps it's on the plate. I don't see it in there. And I've got to say, personally, I guess I prefer a knob with more girth, and that's kind of a tiny little knob. It could at least bend the diameter of the key, but that's neither here nor there. We've got a USB cable. It appears that they haven't really changed. These are the same ones that I received with the first Halos that I got, or the first NuPhys that I got. Same connector. I mean, they're not bad. It's just a rubberized connector. It does have these little grippy things on it, so it does make it a bit easier to pull in and out. We have some extra keycaps so that we can put in a delete key. Looks like we got a novelty and alt, because it's probably laid out for Mac. And then we have a standard wire switch and keycap puller. These I actually like. They're I've got a few of these that I continue to use because they're made out of just a slightly better metal on the wires, so they don't tend to disform as easy as the cheaper ones. And here we are with the Air75v3. I've got to say, it's actually a quite nice looking keyboard. It looks like they followed in the design of the Gem 80, the plastic bottom with the aluminum frame top, though this is a new addition. Those little lights, wonder if they're indicators for something or they're just part of the RGB. We do have a pocket for the 2.4 gigahertz dongle, and thankfully it is branded, though it's kind of branded in the same color, so you have to see it in the right light to actually see that it says NuPhy on there. It doesn't even show up on film. So it's kind of like, I would have used a different color, but that's just me. It does seem to have a magnet in there, so it keeps it in place. Press fit and magnet. We've got a Windows and a Mac physical switch, which is always appreciated. I know folks that have to go back and forth, they prefer an actual physical switch than a key combination, especially when they accidentally hit that key combination. Like, why is my Windows and Alt key swapped? And we have off, wire, and wireless. Looking at the bottom of it, we've got the new NuPhy badge. I mean, it's kind of like a weight, but not really. We can see that we have some padding down there below, and we do have 2 sets of fold-out feet, so we're going to have a total of 3 different typing angles. Fortunately, these feet, they tend to come off quite easy. When they're sticking out like that, I prefer when there's a bit of a wedge where they kind of sit into the case. Those seem to stay on a lot longer. Taking a look at the keycaps, we have a uniform profile. Real quick, I want to do something to satiate my curiosity, because I do have a number of Halo switches, or NuPhy switches I should say. These are Gator-on, but I wonder if they'll fit here. This appears to be a sideway loaded one. All right. Yep. These are not compatible. So switches that I previously received for the other NuPhy keyboards, they have a different pinout. That's kind of disappointing. Like, the use switches from a previous Halo, apparently you can't. So they are top double shot. There's definitely some really rough markings there from the molding. I mean, that's rough. If I ran my finger along it hard enough, it would probably cut it. I'm not the biggest fan of top double shot, but I get that they're working with limited space with a low keycap profile. All right, so let's see what these keycaps come measuring in at. 1.5, 1.6. Wow, that's actually not bad for being, oh, looks like we're at 1.4. So that's actually not bad for a low profile keycap, I gotta say. Better than I expected, for sure. Now let's check out these stabilizers. Now, for low profile switches, a lot of times you have to grab them from the sides instead of from the top and the bottom, as that's where they have the spot to latch into. Not all low profiles, because there are several different kinds. Now, we do have north facing, and does look like we have both PET layers as well as the IXPE in combination. They're called hi-fi layers. And then these stabilizers are quite well attached, and I doubt it's going to have screw-in stabilizer support, because these are non-standard, being that they're low profile. Low profile, we don't tend to have as much standardization as we do with standard profiles, but hopefully that'll change one day. Now, taking a look down in there, it looks like, I gotta say, that is the strangest thing. I'm looking for screw-in stabilizer support, and there's literally just a hole. So, as I said, no screw-in stabilizer support. And we have only a little pocket there where we can slide the wire in to get these back into place. Let's lock them. But they do come well lubricated. And again, it is north facing, so I do believe they have shine through options. I even believe I have a set of NuPhy shine through. But Not going to test them out right now. So there we have these two spots. Now, no, it's only this spot where we can actually switch it out. I believe there's an entire frame around it. Huh. I have to say, I've never really seen anything like that. That almost looks like a standard switch. Well, it definitely fits in. It's not locking because the plate's too low, but we'll have to see if it actually makes connection. But there is the little nut you've got to undo to remove it and put that into place. So let's take a look at that. All right, so here we have the little screwdriver. Unscrew this. That would be much better as a captive screw, but try not to lose it. Yeah, that's a standard hot swap socket. Huh. Yeah, it's definitely a standard hot swap socket. So that's interesting, a low profile keyboard that will work with standard switches. I think. I'll have to test for sure. But wow, that's 10 pins. That's a lot of pins. So here we have the switch module. Looks like only 7 of those pins are making connections. So who knows what the rest are for. We set it into place. They're just pogo pins. It does look like it. Oh, okay. It does have like a little wedge spot in there, so we can wedge it in. And then, oh, it needs to be screwed down because it's kind of like pressing up. I guess that locks it into place. Take this. Now, they really should have included another one because I'm sure people are going to lose this. They should have. I mean, what would it cost to include a couple of extra screws? Seriously. All right, so we got a pressable knob, and obviously this is a non-standard knob, so if you want to replace the color, I guess you got to go through them. But that is the flimsiest knob. That feels like it's going to break. I mean, that's wow. For the cost of this keyboard, that knob module should really be better. That shouldn't be that loose. Let's go ahead and put these back together. Put this aside for right now. So, yeah, that's you put that in a bag, there's a high likelihood you're going to open it up and that's going to be broken off. That is not sturdy at all, and I know with just a little bit of force I'd be able to break that. But that's screwed in, and that's how loose it is. Almost feels like a joystick, and it's not. It's a danger joystick because you're just going to break it. That said, this has got to be one of the better sounding low profile keyboards I've dealt with to date. I really like how it sounds. Bottom row is a little bit different. I don't think, do we have? Yeah, we do have gasket mounted, and we did have the PC plate under there, so you figure the sound would be more uniform, but I don't know if you guys can tell, but in the middle row it's deeper. But at the bottom row, or the second bottom row, it's clacky. Usually gasket mounting not only provides what I talked about earlier, a softer cushioning or dampening for your fingers, but it also tends to normalize the sound across the different rows so that the keyboard sounds a lot more even than, you know, different rows sounding different ways, because the ones in the middle definitely have a deeper sound, but then you go to the edges and they're clacky, they're almost tinny in their effect, which it's got to be due to construction. I mean, obviously the space bar is going to be a little bit deeper since it's a bigger key, but having that's a significant difference between two rows. It is what it is. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see what it looks like with the lights turned on. Oh, I guess I should turn it on. Usually, you shouldn't need a switch to turn a keyboard on. So it looks like we have a pretty nice light display. That frosted PC plate definitely helps the light to diffuse along the edges. And obviously for those who prefer top shine through north facing, it's going to work with that. We have the knob. Volume seems to work. Mute seems to work. But again, that's just way too flimsy. That's going to break off. Yeah. Let's see if we have any controls of the function. Nope. Function, that doesn't do anything at all. So we have a nice low profile keyboard. The aluminum, while I mean it is aluminum, it's the thinnest of aluminum. It's the aluminum that I know that if it was disconnected, I'd be able to twist it without taking too much force to it. That helps keep it light, but it also means that it could easily bend and possibly break. Yeah, that plastic is definitely doing a lot of the structural support for that aluminum, because the aluminum frame, as you can see, it's quite thin. Most aluminum keyboards, or any aluminum keyboard that I have, I don't think I could twist it. But if this is in a bookcase and it gets too much pressure from a book or something, this may not survive. It may, I could be wrong, but like I said, I'm barely putting any force into it and it's flexing. So that gives me an indicator that it's probably not something you're going to want to put in your bag. Now, don't get me wrong. I have appreciation for anybody that uses operating systems other than Windows, but this was set to Mac and it's pre-installed with the Mac keys. I personally would just like to see it preloaded with the operating system that is on most people's PCs. Yes, Windows, even though I don't use Windows. But in this situation, let's see what we've got. Insert and delete and a happy cat. That is that supposed to be the super key? See, that's what I don't understand here. So I've got, let me go ahead and take this off, put the escape key there. I'm going to take this off and put that one there. I prefer the black on white, nice clean look. If they had more colors, that would be nice, but just 2 of the 4 colors that I know they use as their highlights. This one, I mean, that's a menu key. So and this is an issue that I've had with other NuPhy keyboards. It's like, what I end up doing is just using the command as my super key. This one with Alt over here. So, and I'm not sure. I think that's because of the Mac functionality that it has. A super key, a Windows key, something, because this is not a super key. That's a menu key. That should be on this side. And as you can see, these are 1 use. This is 1 1/4. So it's little things like that it's like, are you guys like cribbing notes off somebody else and just not paying full attention to the subject matter? Because that's where I feel that, and I mean, this is just my opinion. I don't know anything about the inner workings at NuPhy, but I feel like the marketing team has say over the engineering team, and I think they probably have a lot more marketers than they have engineers. They definitely have more marketers than they have support. I know I'm not the only one. There's numerous posts out there about people reaching out to support and either having to wait a long time or wait past that 30 days before they get a response, and then they get a response of, oh, it's past the 30 days, so you should have reported this to us before. It's like, emailed you the day I received it. Well, we just got it. But you just got it a month later? What? So their customer service is extremely lacking. I would suggest, if you decide on purchasing a NuPhy, that you can afford to lose the money that you're investing in it, and that you know that it's very likely going to be a throwaway product. I did not use my V1s as much, and actually, I want to say on all of my Air ones, I disconnected the battery, but I have been seeing, especially as of late, almost daily on V1s and even some V2s where the battery is already swollen and damaged the PCB as well as bulged out of the plate. If you come across a battery that looks like a pillow, a spicy pillow, be very careful with it. The tiniest puncture or water getting on it could literally cause it to catch fire and or explode. It's not a game. It's serious stuff. They say, well, this is an expendable product. So they even tell people through their support, you shouldn't expect to have it more than a year. If I'm paying over $100 for a keyboard, I'd like it to last more than just a year. I mean, heck, I've got Logitech membrane keyboards that I know, because I have the receipt in my email, that I bought in the aughts, that I can plug in today and they still work. And they're wireless. They have batteries in them, and I've been using them. And there's no bulging, there's no issue. You can make batteries that will last, especially if you put charge protection circuits. Battery can go bad even with a charge protection circuit, but if you have a charge protection circuit, the possibilities of it going bad are highly minimized. So I don't know what it is that whether they fix it or not, because they've never really addressed it. So it's left for all of us to only go by what they've said. Like the email they sent to a customer, they posted on the NuPhy subreddit, that was basically like, this is an expendable product, you shouldn't expect to use it for more than a year. And it's like, well, that gives me the impression that you guys must not put charge protection to save a few pennies, because it's literally a matter of 30 to 50 cents for a charge protector to add that into the PCB circuit, the charging circuit. So it's almost like they are on purpose making products, selling them at a higher price, and expecting people to just buy another one next year, buy a new version. And I can't reveal my sources, but I have been told by someone that I trust that these keyboards they make, talking about this particular one, the Air75v3, that it costs them, now granted they are ordering, I want to say they batch in either 200 or 500 at a time, but they're paying on average $27 to $35 per keyboard. That's what switches and keycaps. These keyboards sell for over $100. Mind you, I know businesses are there to make a profit, but when you're charging 4 or 5 times what it costs to make, that's gouging. That's beyond making a profit. Don't just go with the name. I mean, Keychron is out there. They pay a lot for marketing. They use Kickstarters, and I am not a fan of established companies using Kickstarters. Keychron, they used to be the best. Literally, I knew that I referred everybody to Keychron. A lot of my first 100 videos, a good portion of them are Keychrons, because not only were they QMK and VIA, but they were dependable and they lasted. But as of the last 2 years, the number of issues that I have personally dealt with, as well as the number of people, at least several times a week, I get messages from people talking about Keychron this, Keychron that. People that have received their keyboard from Keychron, opened it up because they heard something shaking, and there's literally hot swap sockets just sitting at the bottom of the case. And Keychron, if they respond to their emails when they're like asking for a replacement, they're like, have you tried flashing the firmware to see if that fixes it? Flashing the firmware isn't going to reattach hot swap sockets that look like they weren't even soldered in the first place, like they were placed there and that was it. Like maybe they have a little bit of light glue to hold it in place while they solder, and they were just like, oh, those are soldered, and they just forgot and they came loose during shipping. But from that to the firmware, to just DOA keyboards that just do not work, to battery issues when Keychrons, I have Keychrons that are going on 10 years old, not 2017, 8 years old, and they have batteries and they're not swollen. But keyboards that are a year old are having batteries that are swollen. DOA keyboards. And then Keychron, same thing. They offer 5 to 10% coupon to buy another one. I just spent $100+ on a keyboard, and now you're going to give me a 10% coupon because this keyboard's dead, and you want me to spend more money with you? Like, so you're actively abusing me? It's ridiculous. So I just don't understand it. Unfortunately, like I said at the beginning, NuPhy kind of started following the Keychron model, focusing on Macintosh-like and Apple-based products, even so that they were at one point, I believe, using the same developer for their software that Keychron was using. I don't know how much connection they may have behind the scenes. There may be more. I don't know. I do know that Keychron does not like me. They never sent me a free keyboard. Every single keyboard from Keychron that I reviewed, I paid for myself. And whenever I had issues, like with the, I want to say it was the V3 or the V5, can't recall, Max. When it first came out, I bought it. I bought it from Keychron, and it had issues from day one, and almost, I want to say it was either 5 or 6 weeks to the day when I received it, it just died, dead completely. I couldn't find a reason why, but there was, I mean, I used a voltmeter. There was nothing going past the USB port. I contacted them. They blew me off. I mean, first they asked me, okay, give us a picture of where the keyboard was delivered. Like, it was delivered to my front door. Okay, let's get a picture of it. I sent them a picture. They're like, put the keyboard in the picture. So I put the keyboard in the box, put the box in my front porch, took a picture, sent it to them. They were like, no, the keyboard without the box. So I put the keyboard on my front stoop, took a picture, sent it to them. No reply. I sent another email and immediately received an email saying that your email has been blocked. So not only did Keychron do that, NuPhy did that to me as well. So again, if you're just buying something and you know it's not going to last, well, I mean, it doesn't matter. But if you're like the rest of us that, hey, every dollar counts, especially nowadays when the price of everything is just going through the roof, we have to be a little bit more economical with what we spend. And I'd rather buy something that's going to last me a while, not something that as soon as I first use it, there's a ticking clock as to when it's going to die, that you're only going to get a year with this. So just so that you know, and if I remember, I'll link below to the one copy of that email that somebody shared where they said this is a consumable product and it's not going, you shouldn't expect it to last more than a year. So I think everyone should really take that into consideration if they're going to buy a NuPhy. Just the specs. Today we are taking a look at the NuPhy Air75v3 low-profile keyboard with an aluminum frame and an ABS plastic bottom. It is a 75% remote keyboard that comes with a swappable knob module, though it's supposed to come with two based on the listing, a low-profile one and a high-profile one. I only received the high-profile one. It comes with extra keycaps, but does not have any extra switches. It comes with a USB-A to USB-C cable, despite their listing saying USB-C to USB-C. It has a gasket-mounted PC plate and 3 and 5 pin north-facing hot swap PCB with hi-fi layers that appear to have the same pinout as standard switches. It comes with double-shot PBT low-profile keycaps in 1.5 millimeters of thickness, and it uses NuPhy.io web-based software to control this keyboard. It is preloaded with a 4,000 milliamp hour battery and comes weighing in at 730 grams. The chin of this keyboard sits at 15 millimeters from the typing surface, while the back sits at 23, providing for a default typing angle of 5 degrees. Flipping down, the first set of feet will raise the back height to 30 millimeters and change your angle of typing to 9 degrees. Flipping out, the final set of feet will take the back height to 35 millimeters and your angle of typing to 12 degrees. This keyboard MSRPs on NuPhy's website for $139.95 to $149.95, depending on your layout chosen. So again, I basically embargoed myself from reading into this keyboard at all before reviewing it. as I'm reading through what's included, it says it includes 2 hot swap modules, and one of them is low profile, which would make a lot more sense so it wouldn't break. But I went through the box, I went through even the packaging that it came in. I just opened it. There was no second knob in there. It lists on the page that it comes with a USB-C to USB-C cable. It does not. We opened it up. It has a USB-A to USB-C, so it's like they can't even get the specs on their keyboard right. But one of my biggest issues is their control center. Now, granted, NuPhy IO does open up in Linux on a web browser, which is great. Problem is, there is no downloadable software for this. What happens if and when NuPhy goes out of business and you want to program your keyboard? There is no source control where you can download and host your own copy locally, like run a Docker container so that you can program your keyboard. I'm going to see if they have any plans to do that, but I kind of doubt they didn't. I believe that they just did not like the whole QMK VIA mess, and they just decided to come up with their own software. But RK, Royal Kludge, also has a web-based configurator that works in Linux, but guess what? You can download software for their keyboards as well. So you have the choice, and if anything ever happened to Royal Kludge or their hosting, whatever, you can still program your keyboard if you've downloaded the software. With NuPhy, if they were to go out of business tomorrow, all of the layers, the functionality, all of the ability to do the changes that most of us want to be able to do, and that's why we buy customizable keyboards, programmable keyboards, we would lose that right away. We would lose any, obviously we'd lose any firmware updates, but you'd lose the ability to program your keyboard. And that's, honestly, that's a big issue. It just goes to show where their thinking is. Their thinking is make it easy for themselves, not for the customer. They don't think about if they go out of business and how they're going to be leaving anybody who has a keyboard that uses NuPhy IO behind and leave them without any options of configurations. But they can't even get the product listing on their page right. I don't know if they messed up on this one and didn't include 2 knobs, or if they added the knobs afterwards and added it to the page but still were shipping out ones with only 1 knob, or I just got the wrong knob. Now also, they asked me what switch I wanted, and I said the brown Nano. I actually went and checked my email, and I did. I asked for the brown Nano, but I got the red Nano, a linear. I would prefer to have had the tactile switch. So not only do they list things wrong, they don't include things they say they do, the cable's wrong, the software is web-based where you cannot download it and host it yourself. And this is basically $150 before shipping and customs duties, which will basically take this over $200. As a keyboard that doesn't even include everything that they list, and that has software that can only be accessed through the web. So, what if you're in a place where you have no internet and you want to make changes to your keyboard? What if you're in an air-gapped network and doing work? You just have no option. And what if they go out of business and it shuts down? You can no longer, the keyboard is useless. If you're making an investment of over $200, you should at least be able to have the software. And the product page should list things right, and they don't. So I honestly, why would it go to sleep when it's plugged in? I don't want my keyboard going to sleep when it's plugged in, but that's neither here nor there. I would take a look at the NuPhy software, but again, I just can't recommend this in good faith to anybody, because you're going to be dealing with issues rather than a reliable product. Like I said, there are people, and I had previously worked in primarily government jobs, but even some corporate jobs where I have to work on a network that's air-gapped. That means there is no access to an internet. It might have an internal LAN, but that LAN is air-gapped from the rest of the internet, obviously for security purposes, but that means no in or out, because there's literally no physical connection between that network and the outside world. So What if, you know, oh, I got some macros I got to program because I'm working on this specific piece of software, and I need to reprogram it to make my job a little easier because that's why I bought a programmable keyboard. Oh, or you're air gapped. Sorry. What if they go out of business? Well, their website's going to go down because it's not like they're going to pay for it. We don't have the access. I look, there's nowhere where you can download and self-host it. I mean, hell, even if it's closed source, that's fine. Put it in a module that I can put in a Docker container, launch it locally, and at least program my keyboard so if something happens, or I'm on an air-gapped network, or I'm just without internet, I can still program my keyboard. For over $200, when all is said and done, you think you'd have that much. You'd think that you'd at least include the stuff that you say you include in your actual product page. I mean, I worked on a lot of software projects for some fairly big companies. I worked on some projects that literally was dealing with millions of dollars worth of transactions daily. A downtime, a push to production of bad code. If we were down for hour, it would be several $100,000 in lost revenue. So, I mean, I know we're not dealing with that kind of numbers here, but whether it was $10,000, $100, $1 million, any downtime is bad. I was honestly hoping that this would open up a new opportunity to work with NuPhy, but I cannot give them any. I cannot recommend this keyboard or any of their products to anybody in good faith, because there are too many mistakes that it goes beyond mistakes. At this point, what they're doing, it is purposeful. They are purposely making throwaway products, charging a lot more for them, being very controlling of the software. I mean, I can't download software to control a keyboard I just paid $200 to get to me. What? I mean, that's just ridiculous. I can't get the stuff that's listed on your product page that says it's included with the keyboard. What? So for $150, like I said, $200 once you figure in, actually more than $200 once you figure in DHL and shipping charges and custom fees and all of that. This is too much. There's plenty of other affordable, low-profile keyboards that will work for you. Does it sound good? Yeah. Does it look good? Yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, this is an issue, but I'm going to be replacing that and just putting the keycap back on. I do plan to come back to this, open it up, and get a little bit more thorough with how it's built, as well as with the NuPhy IO software. But then again, I don't want to give it any attention because it's not a product that you own. I mean, you own the physical product, but you don't 100% own the ability to control that because they're still controlling it. At any point, they could just turn it off and be like, well, those keyboards aren't supported anymore. Or they could do any other number of nefarious things. And I'm not trying to paint them as a bad guy because they've already done a good enough job of painting themselves as a bad guy. They do not support their products. They do not honor warranties. They block people's email addresses that they don't want to hear anymore. And they offer, for broken DOA keyboards, a coupon to buy another one. Like, why would I buy another one when you sent me one that's broken and you want me to buy it again just with a discount? I'm paying twice for one keyboard. If that one works, if that one's broken, then I've paid twice for two broken keyboards. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Did I say it right? Anyway, I was hoping that I was going to find some positive things and be able to say, hey, this is actually a keyboard worth giving a shot to. But at this price and the number of failures that I've listed out, I cannot, in any good faith, recommend that anyone buy this or any keyboard from NuPhy. And I think I've made my points clear, but if you disagree, please let me know down in the comment section below. I'm always willing to listen and discuss in a respectful manner. I don't like to sling insults. I don't think that gets anybody anywhere. We're all adults and we can speak like mature individuals. But if you disagree with me on any points, please let me know. But I don't think that this is, for the price and for the fact that they control the software, you don't. It means they still kind of own this. You're not buying it, you're more leasing it until they decide they don't want to support NuPhy IO anymore. They changed versions and it no longer supports previous ones. They abandoned most of their QMK firmwares and left the community to build them and fix them. Why wouldn't they do the same with their own software? Anyway, I hope that I didn't bore you and I provided you with a little bit of insight, not only into my motivations, that, you know, I'm not doing this for money. I do it because I enjoy it and I like to prevent people from getting ripped off or paying too much for something that could be gotten much cheaper, or buying something and investing in something that they think is going to last them years that isn't going to last them past a few months. Again, any comments, questions, suggestions, disagreements, leave them down in the comment section below. I do my best to respond as quickly as possible. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with the stock sound test with the Nano Reds. It does sound good. I will give it that. But obviously, sound and feel are not everything. You got to look at the company. So I'll leave you with that stock sound test of the NuPhy Air75v3. I want to wish everyone watching a wonderful rest of your day. And until the next transmission, keep calm and keyboard on.